throughout that period, that season, like flying ag, it's tough, man. That sector of aviation loses a lot of pilots every year. It's always that low altitude stall spin situation. But what I learned very early on is, as an ag pilot, man, you have all the odds stacked against you, man. And then this is just about the time when my son was born. And so after that, I actually moved to Thailand.
What?
I didn't know
Yeah. Well,
this
that was
part.
you didn't know this part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
so my son's mother is actually, she's from Santa Monica. Or no, not Santa Monica. What's that city right next to it? That really
Venice?
Venice Beach. Venice.
Then
Thank you. So she's from Venice Beach, but she's half Thai, and so she had traveled to Thailand a couple times. She had dual citizenship, and I've been to like 70 countries in my life, and I'd been to Thailand more than like a half a dozen times. And so after our son was born, I didn't want to raise him in the United States, so I was just like, hey, what do you think about moving to Thailand? She said, yeah, let's do it. We applied for dual citizenship for him, moved to Thailand. We were gonna go to Thailand and then Indonesia because I was eyeing like a low time carrier out there named Susi Air. Are you familiar with Susi Air?
Yeah, I know Susie.
Yeah,
that's in the mountains, right?
what's that?
Yeah.
Is it's like in the mountains, correct? Where they go
So
to
it's
these
it's in
places.
it's in West Java. It's in a little city called Pangandaran. But if you they actually did a YouTube series on it called "The Worst Place to Be a Pilot."
Yep, I
Yeah.
watched it. That's all.
Yeah. So I got on with Suzy Air. I got hired by them. And then, like, out of the blue, we'd been in Thailand for maybe like 45 days. My mother gets diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Mm.
So I ended up coming back to the United States. I contacted Keith immediately because him and I are always been like really tight. And so I got into one of his King Airs, just to start picking up work again. And then shortly after that, I worked a little bit more for Abhi when he had the drop zone. He has a couple drop zones, but he opened up one in Montana, and I worked a little bit for him in Montana. And then he opened up another drop zone in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. He was flying a Turbo 206. Went out there, and at the drop zone, the municipal airport in Montana, there was an ag operation. So long story short, I ended up getting in with those guys, and then did half a season flying ag, and then that ended up not working out. So after
You're
that,
flying
went
air
back to
tractor?
I started off in the ag husky, and then the weatherly, and then the air tractor. Yeah. I actually almost had an accident while I was out there, man, and wasn't my fault. I'm not going to get into that.
Sure, sure.
I ended up getting fired from that job, and then seven months later, man, I, like, when I'm the kind of person, man, when I'm done with somebody, man, I'm kind of done with them. I'll block numbers, all that stuff, man. It's like if I was done dirty, like I was, I'm just like, I'm done with you guys, man. And so after I got fired from that job, I literally hopped in my Honda and just hit the road, going all throughout Idaho, talking to like different ag operators and stuff like that. I met a lot of really cool guys, man. But like, after I almost had that accident, no damage. I got a clean, flying record, nothing on my pre or anything like that. It was kind of like, again, I grew up like judo, boxing, jujitsu, and stuff like that. So I've always had this mentality of getting knocked down and just, wanting to like get back up with a vengeance. And I kind of realized on this like 2 week trip, like going everywhere in Idaho, I was like, man, I'm doing this for the wrong reasons, you know? And so, but anyway, so after that, kind of went back into flying King Airs, and I've just kind of been doing that ever since. Went back to flying jumpers, and.
What do you mean by doing it for the wrong reasons? Like, what was that moment like? When was there like an epiphany? You're driving down, and all of a sudden you're just like, "This is not it. I'm going to go and do something else."
So what it was for me, dude, was like, first of all, the ag industry, I don't know how much you know about it, or the ag flying
Um,
sector, it's almost impossible to break into, man.
it's
It's
super tight knit communities.
it's like good old boy, this, that. I mean, I didn't just get hired on, but I mean, I spent like a couple years getting to know these guys, and then drinking beers, going hunting with them, hanging out at the hangar, and then they get to know you, they get comfortable with you. So, hey, man, you mind if I sit in the airplane? Sure, man. Yeah, I'll show you this, show you that. And then I think one of the breakthroughs was one day, like a storm was coming in, and the owner was gone, and the chief pilot was there, and they needed to move a couple of airplanes into the hangar that were kind of like parked off. And so the chief pilot, co-chief pilot, whatever he was, he's just like, hey, man, just let's do this. You got a tailwheel rating. Let's just move it over here. And then that's when they started to get really comfortable with me. And then I'd say probably about a year after that, I said, hey, man, I'd be interested in, like, yeah, I played my cards right. And I was like, hey, I'd be interested in this. This seems pretty cool. And so I came out like one winter and kind of did tryouts. To answer your question, man, I remember like the first time, man, I got into the weatherly, did all my checks and everything, lined up on the runway, put the power to it, stick forward, put the power to it, and the tail stood up, man. And it literally felt like the first time I soloed, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it was just, it was just awesome, man.
Showing some pictures of what that plane looks like.
Yeah.
So
This is awesome.
is it a radial engine?
Hmm.
No way,
Yeah.
dude. You got radial engine time?
Yeah. Those radios are a trip, dude. Because you got to like turn the prop like 12 times. And then on the radials, there's no like fuel boost pump, right? No electric boost pump on it or fuel pump. So you got to kind of pump it up to like 5 psi, if I remember correctly. Fire it up and then pop, 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 you know.
You're
So
manually pumping the fuel pressure?
yeah, so you down kind of like by your left hip, you know you pump it up. You look at the gauge, okay, 5 psi, and then bam, 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 you know, hear all the cylinders firing off, and then there's like enough smoke around you, you know. So one
My
of these
God.
types. So to answer your question, man, it's like throughout that period, that season, like flying ag, you know, it's tough, man. You know, that sector of aviation loses a lot of pilots every year. It's always that low altitude stall spin situation. But what I learned very early on is as an ag pilot, man, you have all the odds stacked against you, man. I mean, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is basically the middle of the sleep cycle, or you know,
Yep.
somewhere on the latter end of the middle of the sleep cycle. You're flying all day, man, all day. It's big agribusiness. So you've got companies like Monsanto, whoever else, you know, that are supplying the chemicals, and you know, the ag industry is government subsidized. So I mean, we could be carrying a 4 or 5 thousand pound load that's worth like $10,000, you know, and you have to get your chemical on target, or that farmer's going to lose his crops. So you know, it's a lot of pressure. You're flying all day. By like 10 o'clock in the morning, man, you've blown through your lunch. You have all the odds stacked against you, man, and you have to have your head on right, you know. And I when I got fired, I got detached from that like initial passion for it, you know. And
Mm.
another thing about the ag sector, man, you can make an insane amount of money, an insane amount of money. Like let's say starting out, it depends on how it's structured, but starting out, you'll probably make minimum of like $2 an acre, right? You'll easily spray 50,000 acres in your first season, easily. You get 3 4 years under your belt, you might be pushing maybe $4 an acre, but you're spraying like 90, 100,000 acres in a 6 month period. There's a lot of money to be made, man. And you're an independent contractor. So when you get those checks, there's no taxes taken out, which is a whole other separate
Ching.
conversation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So, you know, like, you know, we all have goals and stuff in life. Like, okay, cool, I'm going to make this much money. I'm going to get a house. And when you start doing that type of flying, making that type of money, it's like, whoa, that goal that was way out there is now
More
like,
realistic. It's right in
it's
front of
like,
you.
yeah, it's literally like right in front of you. It's like, whoa, you know, like I said, I've been to like 70 countries in my life, not because I'm independently wealthy, but because I'm good with money. You know what I mean? I didn't graduate with any debt or any of that stuff, paid cash basically when I went to flight training. So